It's July 15th, 2026. Welcome to the video, everybody. Hope you're doing great wherever you're at. This footage right here released this morning by CENTCOM. This is basically what accountability looks like at this point. Precision munitions going into cruise missile storage, launch sites on Greater Tomb Island near the Strait of Hormuz. 90 minutes in and out, door kickers, boom, through the door, and then strikes coming in on the targets right after. IRGC didn't even know about these explosions probably until they checked their telegram. No idea this was coming at them, but let's rewind because the sequencing here tells you everything about where this war is going and why the power plants and bridges are next. So what you're looking at right now is the result of 5 consecutive nights of U.S. strikes against Iran, a reimposed naval blockade in the Strait of Hormuz, and a public statement from the commander of CENTCOM naming what Iran actually did to earn this. 7 commercial ships attacked in 7 days, nearly a dozen civilian mariners that have been eliminated, wounded, or missing at sea. Fighter jets, naval assets, one-way attack drones deployed in combat for the first time, F-15Es, F-16 Wild Weasels, and then last night, President Trump told Fox News on television what's coming next. President Trump said next week comes the power plants. Next week comes the bridges. We're going to knock out all their power plants. We're going to knock out all their bridges unless they get to the table and negotiate. Do you think that'll actually happen? Probably a snowball's chance in hell that Iran will want to negotiate. And I think it's pretty clear at this point who's actually running the leadership in Iran. The generals in the south, whoever is controlling the Strait of Hormuz is basically in control of the country at this point. Oh, and then check this out. I saw this ship. It's reportedly sunk off of Bandar Abbas. It was anchored off of Bandar Abbas, so we don't know how it was sunk or who sunk it, but it's very interesting seeing one of these larger commercial vessels being sunk, going down. Also, some reports coming in. President Trump shared this with Fox News, said that the U.S. would hit Iran hard over the next coming days, warned that if Tehran doesn't negotiate, next week comes the power plants, next week comes the bridges. He also confirmed the U.S. is monitoring activity at Pickaxe Mountain, an underground site suspected of supporting Iran's nuclear program, and warned that it would be targeted if necessary. So at this point, Iran's fired on civilian crews. They called it maritime law. We're just helping you. We're just helping you through the strait by firing on you. And then CENTCOM filed a response over the last few days, but it looks like next generation penetrator bombs don't exactly leave a forwarding address. So let's get into it here because the sequencing is wild. July 7th, IRGC fires on those commercial vessels all the way through the next few days, strikes, retaliatory strikes going in, crushing Iran with F-15E Strike Eagles likely leading the way with the F-16CJ. F-16CJ is that harm shooter aircraft, has the ability to basically beam right through the radar. So target right into that radar beam that's trying to target it. And then here's a wild one. This was all teamed up with one-way attack Lucas drones. So firing these at different locations around the Strait of Hormuz. If we look at the targeting imagery right here, you can see the different islands in the Strait of Hormuz have so many different spots where Iran can hide their drones, their ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, also fast attack craft. So the thing I love about the Lucas drone, this thing being unleashed, allows it to fly into these little austere locations, maybe dozens of them going in with AI brains, all of them connected, talking to each other, and absolutely taking the gloves off versus the IRGC. And the targeting here is very focused on these islands, and there's a reason why. It's because Iran is using the different systems on these islands to harass these mariners and ultimately eliminate the mariners, injure them, maim them, these people that are trying to make a living by getting cargo and oil through the Strait of Hormuz. These innocent people are being absolutely targeted by Iran, and the U.S. military has stepped in as the biggest bouncer in the world and said, not on my watch. So 5 nights of strikes, a reimposed blockade now. Looks like 20 ships from CENTCOM, destroyers. We've got the 2 carriers in the region as well. The IRGC came ready to hold the strait, thinking they were going to control it, but CENTCOM basically controlled it and then handed them an expensive receipt. So when it comes to high performance jets, flying missions, going out and doing what you need to do to stay alert, it really comes down to being aware of what your body needs. And I flew F-15Es in combat and F-16s on the Thunderbirds, so I know exactly what being locked in looks like, whether it's combat missions, high stakes air shows where you're 3 feet away from the jet next to you, and I know exactly what happens when you're not locked in. So fighter jets don't have cup holders. So before combat missions, I'd chug an energy drink on the flight line. The result? Heartburn and a caffeine crash 30 minutes after takeoff. Not an ideal situation. So I built maxafterburnerinnergy.com to fix that. I'm so passionate about this. This company is my baby. I personally formulated all these energy drinks to eliminate that crash sensation that other energy drinks give you. So natural caffeine, nootropics, L-theanine for focus, zero crash, zero jump, engineered to keep you locked in like a fighter pilot all day long. This isn't just a drink, it's a system. Oh, and we've also got this awesome merch that's on the way. Check out this F-16 shirt. I'm so excited about these. I oversaw the design of all these shirts, and I wanted to tell the story of fighter jets, fighter pilots, and high-octane aviation. So the drinks and the shirts are in production right now. So go to maxafterburnerinnergy.com, join our email list. It's totally free, and you'll be notified the moment that the energy drinks and the merch drop. So don't crash. Head to maxafterburnerinnergy.com right now with the link in the description. Greater Tomb Island, that sits at the western entrance of the Strait of Hormuz, one of the most heavily defended choke points on the planet. The IRGC has been using it as exactly what it looks like on the map, a forward operating position with cruise missile storage, launch sites that can reach any vessel attempting to transit the strait. Hitting it isn't just difficult because of the defenses, it's difficult because the window between when you launch and when the IRGC can reposition or fire is measured in minutes. This isn't just a target that you can prosecute slowly. You got to go in fast, you got to go in hard, and you got to satisfy the IRGC in all the right spots. But CENTCOM's answer to that problem is a package, a massive package at that. This package has been running basically every night this week, and it's something worth talking through because it's a masterclass in what layered air power actually looks like. Before anything hits a target, the suppression of enemy air defense mission goes first. F-16 Wild Weasels, purpose-built exactly for this job. They roll in ahead of the strike package. Their job is to find every Iranian radar system in SAM that lights up and make it regret that it lit up. Basically, they're bait. That's how big the cojones are on these men and women fighter pilots. And yeah, cojones is a mindset, because when you go into a threat ring, knowing that you're going to be the first one to be targeted, that takes a special type of fighter pilot. So hats off to the Wild Weasel pilots. Think about AGM-88 HARM missiles. These are fire and forget anti-radiation weapons that home in on radar emissions. The moment an Iranian radar turns on, it has voluntarily donated its coordinates to the entire elimination chain. It's like a little text message comes in. The radar operator's like, hey, Wild Weasel, you up? And Wild Weasel's like, yeah, you know I'm up. And then the radar, boom, goes dark one way or another, whether it's from jamming or from the HARM missile itself. Then comes the strike package. This is the big package. Gonna take two hands for you to hold this package, if you know what I mean. I'm talking about the F-15E because it's gonna take your hand on the stick and on the throttle. Two-seat Strike Eagle, one of the most capable strike aircraft ever built, carrying precision-guided munitions against the hardened facilities on Greater Tomb Island, the cruise missile storage bunkers, launch sites, coastal defense systems. We see all these explosions happening right now. The secondary effects, lots of weapons depots being hit, 5,000-pound bunker buster bombs, and these will likely be the strike aircraft that also target the different power plants, the energy grid, and the bridges throughout Iran. But it doesn't happen without persistent ISR. That's intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance for you acronym addicts. I just needed that. You're welcome. That's the E-2 Hawkeyes. They run off of the carriers. They blast off. They've got that radar dish on top. They're painting the picture. Also, EA-18G Growlers are up there to jam Iranian communications and radar, so the picture inside an IRGC command center is static and confusion while the package executes. So ISR on our side looks like a very crystal clear picture, watching whatever we want to. On the IRGC side, it basically looks like static on a screen. That's how powerful these Growlers are. And I flew the F-15E Strike Eagle. It's not a subtle aircraft. It's a truck that happens to go Mach 2 with 8,000 pounds of ordnance on board or more, when you're putting it against a fixed facility like a cruise missile storage site or even an energy infrastructure site, the math is straightforward. The target is there, the guidance is precise, the result is not in question. So what the IRGC had on Greater Tomb Island this morning is not what they'll have tomorrow morning. That's the campaign working exactly as it's designed. There's also been reports that little power plants around these different islands are already being targeted. So those aren't the mainland ones that likely are responsible for ballistic missile production, powering IRGC weapons, but some of these smaller ones on the islands. This could be a sign of things to come, and the F-15E Strike Eagle is absolutely the platform to make this all happen. So CENTCOM's public release confirmed precision munitions against coastal defense systems and cruise missile storage and launch sites, and identified a 90-minute window. So the F-15E and the Wild Weasel, they didn't come to negotiate. They didn't come to be tapped along by the IRGC. I'm sure if the IRGC had a radio frequency, they'd be like, hey, F-15E, Wild Weasel, let's negotiate. And the F-15E would just be like, not on my watch. And that's why CENTCOM gets the last word. So let's talk a little bit about the IRGC's maritime capability, because we've seen a lot of target strikes going in and striking the coastline, absolutely decimating certain entrances to the ports, C-802 missiles, those are those NOR systems. And CENTCOM is striking all the systems that have demonstrated the ability to strike surface targets, to strike targets that are out on the water. The IRGC has proven it can target commercial vessels, 7 ships in 7 days with nearly a dozen mariners that have been maimed, eliminated, or missing. This isn't a rounding error. This is a deliberate campaign to execute terrorism on the Strait of Hormuz and commercial tankers. So CENTCOM is absolutely eliminating anything that the IRGC can use to try to target these innocent mariners. But the IRGC is claiming, as they do, that they're winning the entire war. It's like sitting there negotiating with somebody who's been watching propaganda all day, and you're like, do you want to negotiate now? And they're like, no, our Navy is strong. And you're like, well, we've hit 160 plus of your boats. Do you still think you're strong? And they're like, yes, we have at least 1 boat remaining, which means we're still in the fight. I mean, at this point, it's just wild to think of even negotiating with these guys. But they've said that they've taken out F-15s, F-16s, and F-35s at Al Azraq Air Base in Jordan. It looks like there has been some hits in and around that 5th Fleet Command and Control Center in Bahrain, but there's been no actual verified reports of them taking out any F-16s, F-15s, or F-35s. And they're going to keep saying it. They're going to keep the rhetoric going. CENTCOM has confirmed 0 aircraft losses and 0 operational pauses. So the gap between the IRGC's press release and the observable outcome, this is not a small difference. This is basically like you're negotiating with a stage 5 clinger. It's just not going to go very well.
Jeremy, you're amazing.
Oh God, I think you're amazing.
Oh my God, don't ever leave me.
Ever.
Good. Because I'd find you.
But degraded doesn't mean disarmed. So obviously the IRGC is going to go down with the ship till the very last second. So their military capability is absolutely degraded on a whole new level. Now they're resulting to their proxy tactics. And that's exactly what we knew they would do. They're going to focus on their fast attack craft. Any of the ballistic missiles that they have hidden along coastlines that can basically blend in with the sand and then pop up and then launch and then go back down. That's the kind of thing that we can expect more of from Iran. So I would expect to see many more strikes along the coastline prior to actually going after their bridges and power plants. That's probably what the targeting list looks like. And you made it to the global roundup section, my friend, so we got to talk about something going on in Ukraine. Ukraine just quietly executed one of the most consequential maritime campaigns in modern warfare. Robert Maydar, commander of Ukraine's unmanned systems forces, announced this morning that 20 more Russian vessels were struck overnight in the Sea of Azov, including 17 oil tankers and 2 gas tankers, bringing the total number of Russian-linked ships hit under Operation Molokcha to 136 in 10 days. Then he posted the line that changes the strategic picture. He said the first round of naval combat is complete, now the Black Sea. So that means they're shifting, they're moving, and they're going to keep Russia on their toes. Just wild to see this happening. You made it to the 40 chess strategic analysis section, my friend, so let's talk about what's going on here. Here's the move that nobody is talking about. It's not the strikes, it's not the blockade, it's the sentence that CENTCOM Commander Admiral Brad Cooper put on the record publicly, naming with specificity what Iran actually did. He said, over the past 7 days, Iran has intentionally targeted civilians